Okay, so I'm going to read something. I'm going to put it up on the screen as I read it. And then afterwards, I'd like to have a discussion, a dialogue about what you felt, what images you saw, and what thoughts you might have about it. So I'm going to suggest that if you want, you can read along. I'll screen share if Mary Grace could set me up to screen share, and I'll read it. But I kind of recommend you kind of close your eyes, get into a meditative state and just flow with the words and the images and just observe what comes out of your imagination as I read this to you. But if you feel you'd like to read along, I'm going to put it up on the screen. So let's start by taking, as we always do, a couple of deep breaths. Just take it in and hold it for 4 seconds. Let it out. Take in another one, even deeper this time. And just let it out. Let all your thoughts, anything that's going on inside of you, just fall away into the earth. And then just return to your normal breathing pattern. And just enjoy taking oxygen in, the source of life itself. You can live for maybe a week or two without food, maybe 2 or 3 days without water, but without oxygen, without the breath, you can't live. Just enjoy it for a moment. And then I'm going to read this piece, which I have on the screen now. It's called Become Fully Ourselves. Becoming fully ourselves requires letting go of the fears that built up and continue to be reinforced after the loss of innocence. As the light of our soul's calling whispers to us underneath the calamity of our world, we can know this is a divine purpose within all of us, waiting to sing out like choirs of angels. This beauty longs to be released from the prison of our fears. We can feel it when we are surrounded by nature, because the plants and the trees have no thoughts to create fears. The eternal presence passes straight through them. We are all on this journey as individuals and as a collective. So the truth is that underneath the fear and the foreboding, we seek the integrity of being our true selves, the person that we are meant to be, even as we give up and fall into darkness. This pure truth yearns to be discovered and manifested and knocks on the doors of our consciousness. Like a garden, it needs to be nurtured with love, presented boldly with the courage of those prophets who have expressed this calling throughout the centuries. As each person resonates with their soul's calling, it travels across our world from heart to heart, instantly enlightening over the channels of consciousness that are beyond time and space. It is calling each of us every day. Letting it pass through us is the most powerful action we can take to save ourselves and our world. Letting it pass through us is the most powerful action we can take to save ourselves and our world. And this is from an Apple book called Soul Awakening that I published some time ago. So what I would like to do is hear from each of you, or those who would like to share, what is your soul's calling? What is that calling that has been there all your life? Maybe you haven't recognized it until recently. What is that calling from your soul, from the deepest part of you, your essence? As in the Tao Te Ching, your place in the flow of the Tao. We all have a unique gift, as the Tao flows through us. And that's the beauty of the world. Each plant is different. Each blade of grass is different. But each has its own beauty. And so that's true for us. We each have our own unique beauty, and sometimes we just don't have time to express it. So I'd like to just hear your thoughts about this. I'd like to hear what you see as your calling, if you will, and just have a dialogue. So who would like to go first? Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Paul. I did a lot of thinking about what my mission was in the past year. And I realized that it is to entertain, to inspire, and to bring people together. That's it.
Lovely. Beautiful. Thank you. Who else? What's your calling, either right now or all your life? What does your soul want you to do? Yes. Marilyn?
Somehow in the last year, it seems, well, it should have been obvious to me from the get-go because I've got 8 kids and I kept getting nieces and nephews. And then God tricked me into going to college and I ended up with a teaching credential. So I was with kids that were middle school, high school, special needs, mostly emotionally disturbed, and just realizing the hell some of them have been through in their life. Sometimes because of reading disabilities or sometimes because of their home life. But I think what's come through in the last few weeks is just working with kids of all ages that have been abused physically, mentally, or emotionally. And I keep thinking of these kids that are locked up over in Mexico and the parents that are terrified to come get them. Just letting people know that they're perfect the way they are, that they don't need to be any different to be okay. And I don't know how that's going to play out now because I really don't want to teach anymore. I want to be able to hug them and hold them and talk to them and encourage them, but I don't want to be responsible for them. I'm responsible now. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm anxious to learn and find out what it's going to look like. And the other part terrifies me. I did work with kids that were homeless and that was interesting too. So we'll see.
What a wonderful thing you've done in your life, Marilyn. And even if you don't do anything, putting your heart out into the universe like that to help them and make them feel cared for. That has a huge influence. You right from your living room. Your heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely. Who else? What's calling you now? What do you think you should be doing? Mhm. Mary Grace.
I'm going to say what I've said in person in our group so much. I so don't want to share this, so I'm going to share. Most people in the group, I think, don't know I have a energy in my body that moves my body in ways that can be pretty unsettling to other people. Used to be unsettling to me, but I'm used to it now. Um, and you know, my purpose really is to allow that energy to come through and to step out of the shadow, step out of the closet. I've come out of the closet a lot of times with it, but more so now. I'm writing a book that is largely about it, but really talking about it in groups like this, even if, you know, it starts reacting. So.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you. And if you need any help with your book, I'm sure Michael will help and I can help too. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sandra, did you have your hand up? You have to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the last couple of years for me, I'm learning how to, which I was probably within me for a long time, is to really truly listen.
Mhm.
Truly listen. I didn't really, I wasn't capable of that before. I was too busy. I was too busy working and running around and doing what I needed to do. And now, you know, it's become a quieter time, especially this last year. But also I've learned how to be a little creative. My creativity, my little girl has just blossomed with creativity, with painting and collages and playing with clay. So I believe that those gifts are something that I can develop now. And also, you know, I've always kind of given service, which most everyone I know does in one way or the other. And I've decided to start really working with foster children and working with crafts and art. And I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing all the good work. And, you know, we all are very busy, and it's probably the one thing that stops us from, you know, expressing our true selves. And so your journey and your insights about your journey can be valuable to many people, because I'm sure many of us struggle with being too busy to enjoy life. So thank you so much for your example. Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, I've never known what I'm here to do. That's been quite interesting. And what I find is that I've always done what I've come here to do. But right now, I listen, sort of what Sandra was talking about, but now I'm following, wanting to create, supporting people to do what they came here to do. It's like connecting, like just talking with people, something happens and something, they become aware of themselves in a different way. And I'm finding that I like connecting people, and that I'm synchronistically running into people that I then can support them to connect with this person that connects with that person, and something happens. And so I'm like following, I'm just following, really. Listening and following. Yeah. And supporting.
The way you read the Tao Te Ching certainly connects people with the world and the insights from, I think it was 350 BC when he
Well,
was preaching or talking, and you're connecting us all to that wisdom of ancient China. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
your voice is so still and sincere and beautiful. It's a real gift that you bring to the world. Please keep it up.
Ron has his hand up.
Ron?
I've had several lifetimes. From age 0 to 50, my focus was having a family of 3 and being successful in business and giving back in the community with various clubs and groups and so forth. When I hit 50 and our daughter 27 died, I died with her, okay? And the death was something that I've never gotten over, nor will I, but it opened up to me a real need for help. I needed to change something in the dental community throughout the country. And along with Doreen, we spent 4 years doing that. And it's now the law in 44 states. It just showed me a whole universe that I never understood. I was from a small town outside of Pittsburgh, and that wasn't part of my life. 5 years later, our grandson was born with autism. He's now 25. Severe autism, okay? And our kids back in New Jersey take care of him 24/7. He's a wonderful young man, but it's their life. So I died a second time. And after those 2 deaths, I reawakened to become a person who's devoted his entire life now to helping other people throughout the country, whether it be on the phone, in writing, meeting with them, because they have a need and I have a talent that can help them. And that's the focus of what I do with great pleasure and great understanding. And every new person I meet with a different type of need introduces me to another person. So it's never dull. It's never the same. Every individual is an individual. Every family has a crisis or a problem. And one at a time, I try to help them. And that's what the focus of my life really is and always will be. And I'm very, very privileged to be able to do that. I consider it a real gift, a tremendous gift. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron. It certainly is a great gift. Who else? What do you, yes? Gina. Where'd she go?
Okay.
Thomas?
Okay. I really like the question and love the poetry, Paul. Becoming yourself, I think, is our lifelong call to individuation. And I believe mine at this point in my life is observation and affirming service to what I observe, what I see, and listen to. And the more positive the affirmations, the observations, the better. And there are sometimes negative ones, and I just let go of them. They don't need to be said unless maybe a situation absolutely calls for it. And I really appreciate, Paul, your kind of widening our awareness through poetry. Anyway, I think at this point in my life, observing and affirming and trying to live by the Tao Te Ching. I love the meditation of keep the Tao in one's heart and mind and spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Michael.
I
I guess you could say, even from teenage, my main interest has been how to tell our individual stories in the real world about who we are.
Hmm.
Now, at some level, that takes the form of what people call marketing, which has been a profession of mine. But really, I've observed that most of the time people spend a great deal of time defining who they are in the real world. Who am I?
Mhm.
Our identity consumes a great deal of the energy we spend in this world, making choices that define who we are. And affirming that. It's a kind of mirroring activity that we do all the time. And I'm not even talking about the subconscious mind or the deeper work that we do. I'm talking about the work we do in the material real world to define who we are, what kind of choices we make that define our identity, and how we act, and the choices we make that define who we are. And it's interesting. I was, as I work with companies that actually define this work and say, well, how do I communicate who I am to my customer and tell them what my product is and all this kind of thing? That's, relatively prosaic. When I started actually just reaching out and finding different ways to do this work, like I started teaching at UCLA for 6-7 years and doing classes in how to doing web and communications work. And I created different forms of storytelling. I actually presented that storytelling model in this group where I said, don't talk about narrative structures like telling your story in order of time. Tell it by different story groups so you see the different stories that were going on inside of you. And people began to see that you could tell your story differently. But we all do it. We all have different deep storytelling we use to function in life. And that's basically the thing that is what makes my life work, because it's what interests me deeply, because it's how we function. And it continues to animate every day. It continues to help me find new and meaningful things about my own life and the lives of people around me.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Now, Eugenia, did you have your hand up earlier and I missed you? Okay, please go. Have to unmute.
She can't.
No, you don't want to share?
She can't unmute for some reason.
No. Oh, okay.
Hyacinth.
Hyacinth then?
Yes, thank you. I feel that for a long time, one of my purposes is to help mankind truly understand the healing aspect of expressing gratitude. I was inspired back in September of 1999 to write in a gratitude journal, actually specifically September 19th of 1999. And I have done this every day up until including today without fail. And it truly does set the tone of your day, because there is always, always something that we can find to express gratitude for. And it just takes us out of whatever ill experience we may be having. I don't know if you all are familiar with Ian Van Sant. She has a show on Oprah called Fix Your Life, and she just retired from the show. And they had a farewell that was so amazing, because she herself, she had on a white outfit that had the word grateful on it. And she herself, although she's helped so many people fix their lives, she has a granddaughter that has not talked to her in 5 years. And she has no idea, no call, no anything. And I know I'm talking about forgiveness, which is what she focuses on. But these two qualities, for me, more so gratitude, but these two qualities are free and are very freeing. And I think that's what I'm here to help people realize.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's
Thank
important.
you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Lavita.
Yes, thank you, Paul. When you first asked the question and posed it, my thought was one thing. And as I'm reflecting on a deeper level, I'm so grateful for Hyacinth introducing and giving me a copy of her article that I read at least once a month on gratitude. I think part of my challenge and opportunity is to trust and live beyond trauma. And the vulnerability that that brings and the sensitivity to other people, you know, not that there's other people. Jonathan keeps saying one love, and it's like, I agree with that. And yet I'm challenged to trust as I'm learning to do life and the process and the Tao. I'd read the Tao, many interpretation, Coleman Barks, Stephen Mitchell, and it wasn't until Dana and Jonathan's presentation that I was able to allow it to speak deeper to me and trust what it's offering. So for me, it's trusting through my trauma, my early childhood traumas, that raises its head, and making friends with it allows me to make friends with other people's traumas and reactions, and they are confusing. Mine are confusing to me, and as I grow more and allow and step into that trusting, a lot of insights come and acceptance. So thank you for the question, Paul. It's quite beautiful.
You're welcome. I think when you listen to someone, it's just a great gift, and especially when you can relate to them, when you've been through traumas, they don't feel alone in the world. You know, we all have them. We don't always talk about them. Thank you.
Yeah, one of my grandchildren, one of the things I noticed as soon as I would say, let's do it together, the immediate visceral reaction in their little bodies is they're not alone. And the anticipation of they're so young, they're not knowing how to verbalize it yet. And watching the fact that just reaching out a hand and acknowledging, let's do it together, makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dana.
You know, hearing people speak about the work that Jonathan and I are doing, it's actually play, but whatever we want to call it. I'm struck by the notion of gratitude. This sister that I have talked about, she is this amazing artist. And I want to screen share for a second. And I can just do this. Actually, let's see. How do I screen share my camera? No, I don't screen share a camera. I just do it. See, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, this is a card that she drew.
Oh, beautiful.
It says gratitude. You know, and she did this year for my birthday. You know, there's a whole bunch of candles. The years are catching up. Run, Dana, run. You know, last year during the pandemic, she did Can't Mask My Birthday Love, you know. And my mission for quite some time is to show her the love of a brother that she really did not grow up enjoying. We kind of grew up in different families. I'm the oldest of five. She's the youngest of five.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time I was a teenager leaving home, she was still a little girl. You know, she was like 7 years old. So she never knew me during my formative years. Of course, I don't know when those formative years began or stopped, but be that as it may, I've really taken it to new levels. I want to take these cards down to a local card shop and see whether I can sell them on the idea of carrying them. I mean, you know, buy them 10 at a time and just put them down there and just do it. And then I'll go up to Gretchen and I'll say, I sold some of your cards. Make 10 of these, make 10 of, because the amount of gratification we get is according to how we're connected to the world outside of ourselves. And often it's really hard for somebody to do it for themselves. It's very easy to do it for somebody else, but they themselves, you know, I pushed her out there, and the world has sharp edges for her. You know, she's been hurt. And so she has become risk intolerant. You know, the ability to go out there and do something only to be brushed off or not taken seriously or one thing and another. And it's drawn her into herself. And so I've kind of taken it upon myself to be a kind of a window for her, or a door to the outside world. And you know, with no dog in the fight, I mean, I have nothing to gain about doing it, but it's a challenge to watch a flower open up, you know, to kind of tend the soil, and you can only coax it so far. If you do too much coaxing, it runs back inside. So I don't know. I'm struck by being grateful for the opportunities, being grateful wherever it is that my life seems to take me, and just give, just do it, and things just open up by virtue of just being there for it. So I wanted to share that related to the gratitude. And you know, when you talked about Hyacinth, I sent my sister over to Hyacinth. I would love something to come out, because there's a real natural fit. But this woman, my sister, she's not ready for prime time. So I don't know, you know, we still talk about it. She says, Hyacinth called me, you know, and one thing and another. And I said, so what'd you do? She said, I didn't even answer it. I mean, one thing, she said, what are you always doing this stuff for me for? You know, I mean, so anyway.
What a kind thing to do for Big Brother, for his sister. That's wonderful, Dana. Thank you.
Thank you. Look at them all.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I keep every one of them. I mean, I've got them.
Yeah, you should go to that card shop. That would be lovely. That'd be a great way to bring her out and acknowledge her with.
Oh, it would. And on the other hand, I know she'll feel violated, you know, but I'll work it. I mean, it's a card shop I support. It's sort of old school, you know, it's got real cards, and they have filofaxes down there, and, you know, and anyway, yeah, I expect I'll do that, but I have to, I know there's going to be blowback, but, you know, just deal with it.
Yeah, it'll spark a conversation for sure.
Oh yeah, it will.
That's good. Lovely. Thank you. Who else? What's your mission, your soul's calling? Let's see. Was that Hyacinth? Did you have your hand up or you just stretching?
Jasmine and Gordon have their hands up.
Gordon.
Well, yeah, the thing that comes to mind for me, Paul, that I've really been thinking about lately is transparency. Though that I really get to know people, and by being totally transparent, people really get to know me. They know exactly who I am, where I've been, what I've done, and what my beliefs are, what my thoughts are. And it's just very valuable. Uh, Thinking about Dana talking about his being the oldest child and his sister being the youngest. I have the same situation with my sister, in that I'm 10 years older than Nancy is. Our father died at an early age, leaving me at age 14 and Nancy was age 4. So obviously at that point we had nothing in common. Um, I immediately started working after school. And then as soon as I finished high school, I went away 4 years to college and then 5 years in the Navy. And then I settled in California, whereas they were still back in New Jersey on the East Coast. And so Nancy got married and lived over in Europe. And we didn't talk for like 15, 18 years when she was going through that marriage and living over there. And we really had nothing in common. We didn't really understand each other. We didn't know each other for practical purposes. But it has been really the last, I'd say, 20, 25 years that we have gotten to know each other. We have become friends. When I turned 65, I decided that I wanted to go to Paris, France, because I'd never been to Europe. And Nancy, having lived over there for quite a few years, said, "Well, gosh, Gordon, can I go with you?" And I said, "Well, of course." So, we had a wonderful time. We had 3 weeks in Europe. Nancy knew her way around. She knew where things were. She spoke fluent French. And we just got along just great. All was well. So, ho.
Great. Thank you. Jasmine, is there your hand up over there?
Yes. Hi. I've come to realize that my duty and task is to be a good listener, be a great listener, and to be a doer, actualize and demonstrate and really put to task what I've learned over the years, and as a mom and as a friend, as a sister, as a citizen. I have to just really listen in and listen to what universe creator source is saying to me, and how I'm communicating that to others, and being gentle with myself. That's one thing that I have to be better at, just gentle with my decisions, gentle with how I'm caring for myself, my daughter, my family, my mom, others, and just know that I'm doing the highest right. That I'm praying for everyone, and that I'm praying purely and wholly, and just knowing that I'm doing the best that I can. And I hope to learn how to listen more deeply, because sometimes I interrupt or have a thought or something that I want to say, but I know that if I either write it down or take a moment to say, okay, that can wait, or then I'll learn to be more patient and humble and humility. So yeah, I just learned that in this too shall pass. That's one phrase that I'm in my life traumas, that it's okay, and I can survive, and I can do well, and I can thrive in this, and with support, with all of your support and all of my families, that I will do well and I will succeed. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jasmine. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Let's see, who else? One time for one or two more. Sarah. Have to unmute. Oh yeah.
I still don't know what my calling is. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I strongly feel for the first time in my life in the past year or so that I am on the right path. I'm not exactly sure where it's taking me, but I feel that I'm on the right path, and that's such an amazing feeling. Um, after so much struggle and career changes and all the things that I've done and been through, it's really comforting to know. And I don't know how I know, I just know.
Yeah, you want to trust your instinct. You can feel it, right? When it's right, you can feel it. Yeah. And the unknown is out there. You don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't matter. It'll be a surprise. One of my favorite quotes is from John O'Donohue is, I would love to live like a river flows, surprised by its own unfolding.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing. You'll be surprised by your own unfolding when you're in the flow of the river. So. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
We have time for one more. Nita.
I'm going to do a t-shirt called Unmute Yourself. Well, I'm one of those people that and people who know me know this, from the age of 6, I knew what I was going to do. And I simply lived my life following the steps to do that. And then I did it. And it was like, there was never a question as to what I was here to do. And that was to simply be a designer and to basically intuit what people were trying to do visually and be a wrist, if you know what I mean. And I've done that my whole life. And I thought, well, now that I'm older and I'm trying to retire, what do I do and who am I without that? I notice I'm really dragging my feet getting out altogether, because every time I think, well, I'm done with that, if somebody says, hey, are you available? I think, yes, I've got to make sure I don't lose this skill, but it's difficult. But when I've done my own inner work, I think that part of my calling is to actually bring up perspectives that are somewhat upsetting to other people, and to appear as normal as possible while presenting unique perspectives. How's that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Knowing you do it wonderfully with humor and wit. And it just comes through lovely. It's always a joy to hear your view. It's always a joy. Yeah.
Well, like I say, just try not to appear weird. It's like years ago, I met a woman from the planet Venus, and she said to me, your job is to talk about bizarre things, but make people feel comfortable listening to them.
There you go. I do that. That's great.
That's really good.
Yeah, it really is. Let's see. Jasmine, do you have your hand up again, or is that left over from the previous hand?
I think it's left over.
Okay. All right. Well, it's 1:45. I suppose we should get to business unless someone has something they really want.
Paul, actually, you have until 10 of.
Oh, all right.
So you've got another 4 minutes here.
All right. Anyone else then? Like, what are you up to? What's your calling? What's the river, the flow for you? Linda.
This has been a really good conversation. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
I remember I never thought I would do anything but be a reporter. And I did that for 23 years. And I didn't want to not do that because I thought, I've achieved this. I am on television. I'm important. And I was very secure. And then my favorite person in the universe, my brother, my younger brother, died suddenly. And then I couldn't walk. And I couldn't do that job. But my inside said, what makes sense? And I was in my own personal counseling. And when I knew I needed to do something different was when I was out on a shooting. And it was at evening. And the cameraman was getting all the footage. And I had the microphone. And I saw this woman leaning on a fence. And I just I knew I needed to hold her. And I didn't care about anything but holding her. Because when you break your heart open, when I broke my heart open, I could hold others. And I've been doing that ever since. And it's the best thing that ever happened. I help.
Yeah. Thank you. That's lovely. I always remember the song, one of the Beatles songs, I think it's on the White Album, ends with "Only kindness matters. Only kindness matters." That just rang a bell with me and just, oh yeah. I found myself being more kind because it is my natural, my kindness is the first thing, something I've hidden for many years, but have brought out, full speed ahead. And then the other thing is insight. I've always had insight into patterns and I've always inspired people, but I wasn't always kind. And that makes all the difference. All right. Anyone else? Okay.
Well, I can pop in here.
Oh, Bonnie.
So the calling that I have really felt over the last, I guess it's been almost 15 years now, has been writing my story, writing my experience, just through little what I've called heart moments. And I guess I was kind of hesitant to say anything this morning because I've been having a lot of trouble with writing lately. And one of the things I've realized is that the writing group that I've been in is going in a direction that just, I'm not finding my experience through what's being presented in the group, and I'm having to leave it. In fact, this week, I'm going to be talking to the group and letting them know that I'm going to move on. And this is after 10 years. And so I've actually been feeling kind of depressed the last few days because I'm like, if I let go of this, then what? I mean, this is what I've relied on for all these years. And so now what's it going to be? So the leader of the group has given me some references to other types of things I could get involved in that could help inspire my writing. But I've also realized that when I've written mostly from my heart is when it just comes to me. It just comes and I start putting it down. And so there's, gosh, at some point I was just feeling like, well, maybe I don't really want to write, maybe I don't really want to, maybe that's what it is. I don't really want to do that anymore. But being able to, like Luvita was talking about, going through trauma and being able to express that and help other people to realize that they can move through that too, because much of my writing has been about moving through and coming to the other side. And so I guess I needed to say this because I don't want to just decide that I'm going to let that go. And I think declaring it to this group helps. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Your writing is wonderful and deep and sensitive.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a gift. Ron?
Well, I want to thank you for elevating the group today like only you can do it. And each word that you share with us is a challenge and an opportunity to be better in our own life. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for helping us focus today and dig a little deeper into our purpose.